This is a Bergen Film Club podcast.
Like an old movie removed from the frame, I am floating and looking for someone to blame. Won't you project me on the walls of your heart? I'm waiting for the real thing to start.
Hello, welcome to The Real Thing. I'm your host, Daryl Lawrence. This podcast is an extension of Bergen Film Club, which is an independent cinema society and cinema in Bergen, Norway. Today is a super special episode. We're currently in the throes of Bergen International Film Festival. It's currently happening right now. But many weeks ago now, I had the opportunity to talk to Håkon Tveit, who is one of the film directors and producers, the program director for the school program and for the checkpoints documentaries, and Cine Latino, which he also talked about in our little interview. So thank you very much for joining, Håkon, and here is the interview. I hope everyone is having a lovely biff. And yeah, it's cool to learn a bit more about this side of that's not so access to the public, I suppose. So here it is. Yeah, thank you very much for agreeing to talk on the podcast. It's very nice. I know how busy you guys must be, so thanks for taking the time.
Nice to have a chat.
Yeah. I thought, we can just begin if you want to just introduce yourself.
Yes, I'm Håkon Tveit. I'm program director for documentaries at Bergen International Film Festival. And I've been running the school program for almost 2 decades and in charge of checkpoints and the Golden Owl as well, human rights and science and stuff. The heavy stuff.
Yeah. So you've been working at BIFF for a long time?
Yeah, this is my 19th edition.
Wow. Impressive. So you've seen the festival evolve over these many, many years.
Yeah, definitely. It has evolved constantly and gradually becoming more solid, I think.
Yeah. It seems to me like from the reading that I've been doing that it's like only ever getting bigger every single year.
Yeah, well, I don't think we've necessarily... Well, there was a pandemic and all, but
Sure.
we haven't necessarily had an audience record absolutely every year. But the general feeling is definitely that it's been growing, yeah. Mm-hmm. Also, like in content. And I don't necessarily then mean the amount of films, but like everything we do around them.
I think, a very unique part of BIFF is that you have this school program. So I was hoping if you could explain a little bit what that is and then kind of its importance in the context of the film festival and film in Bergen.
Yeah, well, I really think the school program is core to BIFF. I think it's important and fun. In the school program, kids from all ages come to see films that are somehow relevant to what they're supposed to learn in school. But they come to the cinema to see films together, to experience them in proper surroundings. And also they receive educational material beforehand for them to prepare together with their teachers and their peers. At the cinema, there's always an introduction to clarify like the context of why they're there, and there's also a lot of material for them to use for discussions afterwards. Often also we have guests from the films. It could be typically a human rights activist or a filmmaker, to take questions from the kids. The kids always have better questions than the grown-ups because they're honest, curious people who don't only want to show off. So that's really nice. So I've had throughout the years tons of beautiful experiences with guests, especially with the kids. But yeah, I've also, like when you say the importance of the school program in Bergen as well, I feel that I've met several like politicians who have been like become engaged with some cause quite directly from their experience at BIFF's school screenings, which is
Really?
remarkable. Like one from the Green Party who watched a film about waste and then became the political person in charge of that in Bergen, which is kind of cool. And it is. I mean, in terms of it's massive. It's half the screenings at BIFF at least are school screenings, and half the audience are from the school screenings.
It seems like a really cool and really like nice experience for the children to get involved in cinema that way, like very directly, and by having it with these talks and stuff, that it makes it much more like an active thing and for the kids, which is cool.
Yeah, that's what we hope. I mean, and of course, like some are bored, and we challenge them with some films that of a type that they may never have seen before. So, but we don't want to mix it up, and
it's still a part of this kind of like engagement with the schools that you do kind of these competitions, right?
The competition of of the best films for screen for the schools, you mean? Or we collaborate with the youth film club HUF, where the board of that film club kind of decides what was the best film for screen for schools. This year also we have a new thing called BIFF Ung, which is where kids both from HUF but from a couple of other organizations as well are picking films for their own little program that will have a day at Røkeriet at Verftet where that is specifically for them, that they program it. So they take part to a larger degree in the organization.
You think I mean, kind of a stupid question, but like engaging young people in this way, like especially like now, do you think that that's kind of the way that it's important to engage young people through BIFF and through cinema has changed over the course of the festival?
That's not a stupid question. It's a very difficult one.
Okay. Just in the sense of like how the young generation has kind of, I mean, in 19 years even, like how that's changed over this period.
I mean, I think what most people would think is that kids get more restless and have less patience with a bit longer films. They're all like TikTok focused in terms of length and everything. But yeah, I'm not sure. I think often the sessions are just we find just as engaged people now as we did almost 20 years ago, and I think we've also seen like what works, what doesn't work, just the importance of subtitling, and just a lot of experience with what works and not. Trying to get like, let's say, TV length versions of a documentary that also has a 90-minute version, having shorter films to have time also for the conversations, because I don't know, a conversation can change what you feel about a film. And I think it often does for a lot of people. I had one of the most remarkable Q&As I've had at a school screening was with Ruben Östlund, way before his Palme d'Or. We had a screening, and we walked in for the Q&A of, I think it was Die Ufrivillige. I don't remember the English title. And they were booing him. It was, and I was like, okay. And I watched him, and he was like, yeah. I can see he loved it, because he was like, okay, going from festival to festival, and it's all like, yeah, it's nice. Blah, blah, blah. How do you? And these kids booing him was like, he was so happy. And that was the starting point of a fantastic conversation, and which just obviously opened the minds of the kids, of so many of the kids that were like, first question, why did you make this film? It's so bad. But they really opened up, and the questions became gradually better and everything. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I was a question that I did have. I guess you kind of just did that anyway. But like, if there's been any kind of like notable films that you feel like have really like struck a chord with the youth.
Yeah, several. We had a massive. Sometimes it's hard to kind of differentiate between the. Was it the film or was it the total package? One film we had Bogota Change. A documentary about urban development in Bogota, in Colombia, where two mayors managed to change the city a lot, from being extremely violent and just having violence go very, very, very dramatically down, and also focusing on the environment and healthy city development. And then we had the mayors actually come as surprise guests afterwards. Wow. That was that's one that still kind of sticks. We've had some. I remember also from way back some unbelievable sessions with Deya Khan, who's become like an Emmy winner later on. And who's actually from Norway, but kind of escaped from Norway because of threats, and moved to Britain. But just like lately, also having Ella, who's like a pop artist and Sami activist. Have her as a surprise guest in a documentary that is mostly about her and her activism, and the mix between music and activism was very very beautiful. Really connected with the kids.
Touching on what you said a little bit about like obviously you said like you don't really feel like the engagement has changed at all, maybe or a little bit throughout the last years, but like, is that something that is it something that like worries you, or something that like concerns you in terms of like their engagement with cinema, and or something is like just how the grip that social media has on
I guess
people?
I'm constantly worried, and I mean there are like bad sessions and good sessions, and but I don't know. To some degree, I think the bureaucracy of being able to go to the cinema at all in this in schools heavily marked by what's it called, this neoliberal new public management. Is getting more difficult. I think a lot of the kids really enjoy it once they're there, but they might not know it before they come. So just getting them there is very important.
But you're right. Like just being like made to go and stuff is like you can have this like amazing eye-opening experience.
But also I think that there's a huge like just if the teacher has made sure the kids are prepared or not, is it makes a big difference.
Yeah. Okay.
If they just send them off, or they just go without actually preparing them, then they learn less, they focus less, and the value of the visit is less. Yeah.
But in any case, it's
Mm.
very cool. Maybe you can talk a little bit about your other roles in the.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm. One thing is I run Cine Latino, the Latin American like daughter festival, which I started some years back. We've had 6 editions now.
Yeah.
In March every year.
Yes.
With basically the best of Latin American films from the last year. It's a festival that is very, very strongly linked to the Latin American community in Bergen, with people from different countries selling their food at the cinema, dance groups from different countries that are local dance before the films, or introductions by someone from the country before the film, but just to a large extent using local talent, because most of the Latin Americans in Bergen kind of migrants often do. They're forced into what they're not actually doing because maybe their education is not accepted, or it's hard to get a job or anything. So you can kind of highlight the talent that they have that is not necessarily seen on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
So that's like showing that talent is kind of key. So it's a big celebration of Latin American culture. Also, I am in charge of our collaboration with the university to a large extent. We have the science documentary competition, the Gold Owl, Gullugl. Most people who have studied at the University of Bergen know that the symbol is an owl. So that's kind of the key there. And there the jury consists of academics from the University of Bergen. And we try to broaden the scope of what normally fills science sections at film festivals. Yeah. Because they tend to be very focused on like natural sciences. And broaden it. Like this year we have Selling a Colonial War, which is more about media and history, and how the Netherlands managed to control the story of their war in Indonesia after Indonesia declared independence. So there's that, and there's checkpoints, our human rights section, a collaboration with the Rafto Foundation for Human Rights, which is kind of unique in a film festival setting, because the award money does not go to the film people but to the cause, which is special. I think one thing that has been important to me is to make sure that we manage to communicate that human rights violations also happen in like well-functioning democracies. Sure. So the opening film for checkpoints this year, for instance, is a Norwegian film about where there's no North Korean villain, let's say, so that's important. Die Rettsløse is actually a local production from Bergen. Okay. That's one thing. I think also we've seen that technology has become a gradually more important part of checkpoints. How technology is used against human rights. It like a bit more than a decade back, like the social media were like salvation for democracies, we thought. It was not. No. And it's partly become a threat in several ways. So anything to do with that, like last year we had one about artificial intelligence and deepfake porn, for instance. Stuff like that has come to the forefront. Yeah, interesting to see how those trends have changed over the time, especially with social media. Here I asked Håkon about something he was excited to share about the program, or something he was particularly looking forward to. Obviously this was some weeks ago, so everything is currently showing
right now, but nonetheless, here is what he had to say about those films.
One thing that is out is the international documentary competition.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a wonderful selection.
Yeah.
If you're into something that is slightly different aesthetically, which film club people should be,
Mm-hmm.
that's a very good spot to find find good films. And yeah, there and I don't know. I think some films that fit in several categories, like in the documentary competition, but also the Golden Owl competition is Nocturne, which is also kind of a climate and environment film.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the moths of the Himalayas.
Oh.
It's both the soundscape and the visuals are extraordinary, so that's cool. But also, yeah, let's say like Selling a Colonial War, which is also the Golden Owl, but also Checkpoints. It's a combination. It's about human rights, but it's also about science. So you mix the two.
Mm-hmm.
That I like, while being aesthetically creative.
Yeah.
And actually slightly fun.
Okay.
A human rights film about colonialism. Fun.
Very fun. Yeah, unless there's anything you specifically want to like say or push.
No, well, I'll say that if you're into football as well as film, you have to watch Copa 71, about the World Cup for women in 71 that FIFA doesn't want you to watch.
Woohoo! Yes, so thank you again very much, Håkon, for joining. I hope that that was illuminating for those listening, because I suppose the majority, well, not the majority, because actually the school program makes up a large majority of, but general human being adults attending obviously may not know or know much about the school program, so it was very cool to learn about that part of BIFF, I suppose. I work as a projectionist at BIFF, so I get to see it firsthand. It's a very cool thing, something I think could benefit a lot of schools across the world. Yes, so thanks very much for listening. This has been The Real Thing. Thank you. Goodbye.